today I'm going to be sharing the law of navigation by John C. Maxwell. I'm going to present in English, then I think you can help me and do a summary in French. So if that will make it better. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the law of navigation. It is the fourth law of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John C. Maxwell. Now, this is what this law says. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart it up, which means that anyone can board on a ship, control the ship, but it takes a leader to control the direction of that ship. Now, talking about this law of navigation, we have to try to understand it in the context of leadership. What is navigation in leadership? Navigation is more than controlling a direction while riding a boat. Navigation in leadership is being able to understand the whole trip before trying to take the trip. Now, navigation, the law of navigation is all about having a vision for your business or organization and navigating towards it, correcting the course along the way. It means that as leaders, as business owners, and as leaders of organizations, it means that we have a goal which we have to better understand it before taking action to achieving that goal. So it's all about preparing and planning to take action in order for you to attain that goal. Now, going deep into this law, John C. Maxwell, in his first paragraph of this law, used two examples. He used an example of two explorers named Amundsen and Scott. These two explorers in 1911 aimed to explore the South Pole. So Amundsen, like John C. Maxwell said, set out to travel to the South Pole, but then he had to change his course now to travel to the North Pole because someone else had already traveled to the South Pole. Now, we have to understand why Amundsen changed his goal to travel to the South Pole. Is because the goal was no longer motivating to him. This is why, as leaders, we have to understand that it's not only about having a goal or achieving something. It's about having a goal which will motivate you and push you to attain that goal. So first of all, why do we have to understand why Amundsen changed his goal of going to the South Pole? His first goal was to reach the South Pole, but because it wasn't compelling enough or motivating enough, because someone else had already attained that goal, he had to change it now and move to the North Pole. Now, what does this tell us as leaders or business people or organizations or leaders of organizations? It means that we have a choice to change. We are compelled to change if we see that our goal does not motivate us enough. Now, this paragraph goes on to tell us how Amundsen charted his course, how he traveled through that trip, and how he had to attain his goals. How did he travel through this trip? What were the different ways at which he had planned or prepared in order to attain his goal of being one of the first explorers to reach the North Pole? He went to get knowledge and mentoring from those who had already gone through similar trips. Now, this is so important because Amundsen was open to learning, and he didn't do it alone, meaning that he went to others to seek for knowledge and mentorship. He was open to learning, meaning that he was open to work in a team. And when we're talking about obtaining goals, or as a leader, I think that if we are talking about getting big goals or obtaining big goals, then we have to think about getting a team, because obtaining big goals, you cannot get it alone. You will need to have people who accompany you and make your vision a reality. Now, what is the difference between Scott and Amundsen? In this first paragraph, John C. Maxwell tries to make us know that John and Anderson, they both had the motivation to attain that goal, or to be the first explorers to go to the North Pole. But then the difference between Scott and Anderson is that Scott had the motivation, but he did not have the leadership skills. Meanwhile, Anderson had the motivation and the leadership skills. Now, why does he say that Anderson did not have his leadership skills? Because most of his team members gave up on the way to the North Pole. Some people died, and even Scott too died on the way to the North Pole. This is why as leaders, we have to lead ourselves first by preparing and planning. If you cannot plan, then you cannot lead people because you are working towards failure. Because most of your team members are just followers. So if you fail as a leader, you will fail so many people in your team. Because if you're entering a hole as a leader, it means that your followers are equally entering that hole with you. If you have an organization and you don't have a clear plan of where the organization is going to, you don't have a clear vision, you don't have a clear objective, it means that you're working towards failure. And if you're employing people now to work for you, we have people who are depending on you to provide for their families and all that. So if you cannot attend or lead people to attain your goal, then it means that you're failing, and you're failing too many people. So that's why if you are a leader in your team or in an organization, and you discover that so many people are leaving your team, you have to ask yourself questions. It means that there's something wrong with your leadership skills. So the larger your organization, the more of a leader you will have to become. If you are leading 20 people, you know that you have to work more on your leadership skills. If you're leading 100 people, you have to work more on your leadership skills. And we have to take note that the leadership skills of someone who is leading 100 people cannot be the same as a leader who is leading 10 people or 5 people, because the person who has 100 people takes care of the mentality of those 100 people or his followers, and he has to attain all of the goals for that company, for that 100 people, for those 100 people, sorry. So in this law, John C. Maxwell gives a framework of what the leader does before he sets out to embark on a journey. First, he says that the leader starts with a vision. The leader, first of all, has a clear understanding of what his goal is, of what his vision is. The leader is mentally prepared for what is waiting for him ahead. That's why it says, before of all start with a vision, make sure that you understand your vision very well before embarking on it. Now, the second one is the leader has to understand what it would take him or her to achieve that goal. It means that there are so many things that you will have to give up, maybe in order for you to achieve that big picture or your big goal. You have to look at so many resources and everything that will make you achieve that goal. You even have to be mentally prepared to achieve that particular goal, because if you are not mentally prepared, you are going to abandon it in the way, and that shows that you were not really motivated by your goal. Maybe you just had a goal, but you did not have a vision for that particular goal. Now, after having or understanding what will make you to achieve that goal, you have to now identify the people who will help you achieve that goal, because it goes to our day-to-day activities. Even when we apply for jobs, they say now that the CVs are really not too important. Now interviews, personal interviews or face-to-face interviews are where the employer sees if he can work with you, or if you view their company or have the same vision with their company. So if you can understand your goal or understand the vision of your goal, then you will know the particular people to put on your team. Because if you put the wrong people on your team and you see that people start leaving your company, it means that you did not really identify the right people to put on your team. And that makes you now, you have to start questioning your leadership skills. Now, the last one is that a leader understands the obstacles which may arise in the course of achieving his goals. Normally, when we set out goals, we expect everything to go on fine, but then they say that a wise person is someone who, first of all, understands all the things that might go wrong in the course of doing something. So as a leader, you have to look at those things that might go wrong in your company or in your business, first of all, before looking at even what might go right in your company. So you have to compare maybe the past and the current situation, what people did which did not work, what is the current situation, what you have to add to it in order for you to attain that particular goal. Now, in this law of navigation, John C. Maxwell gives the characteristics of a good leader or a good navigating leader. He says that a good navigator or leader gets his ideas from many sources. It means that a leader or a navigator is someone who is open to learning. Someone who asks, maybe as a student, he's always there to ask questions. What is this? How can I go about this? This is a clear example of Anderson, the explorer who wanted to travel to the South Pole, but changed his course to travel to the North Pole. They said, in an example given by John C. Maxwell, he said that Anderson, first of all, went to people who had done those types on what they had done, which went wrong, and also to get mentorship. So a good, and who also studies, a good, Maxwell says, good leaders listen to members of their team. Now, leaders understand that, but they have to discussions with members of their team. So if you're a leader, you don't only focus on your ideas alone. You ask your team members maybe what you're doing, which is not correct. You can ask the people in your organization what you're doing, which is not correct, and what needs to be done in order to make it correct, in order for you to achieve that particular goal. If your organization is falling, John C. Maxwell is failing, sorry. John C. Maxwell is trying to make you understand that you have to discuss maybe with your employers to know what you are doing, which is not going on well. Now, for the third one, good leaders talk to people in their organization to find out what is happening at the grassroots level of the organization. This is so important because the leader is up there, is at the top. Then you have people right at the grassroots. You have people, you still have maybe even bench makers in your team. So a good leader is the kind of person who goes right down to the bench, to the benchers to ask, what is going on in this company? What do I need in order for you to be really productive in this company? Actually, I think that John C. Maxwell is just trying to make up that a good leader is someone which is open to learning, which has a vision. And lastly, he tries to tell us that a good leader is someone who spends time with other leaders outside of an organization. It means that a leader is someone who surrounds himself with people who influence him or her. If you surround yourself with people who cannot influence you, you cannot be a leader because those people cannot influence you. They cannot influence the growth of your organization. You need people who constantly advise you. That's why you need to go out of your company. You need to sit down with different leaders and get what they are trying to do for their companies, which maybe you need to implement in your other company. You have to be open to learning. So to conclude, we have to understand that as leaders, before embarking on a journey, we have to plan first. We need to have a clear vision of our goal. And in order not to fail many people, we have to prepare and gather all the resources we need to attain that particular goal. We have to trust ourselves. We have to have a vision, and maybe we have to understand our team members and also choose the right team members to attain that particular goal. he's trying to tell us that we should not just be very excited in maybe embarking on a journey. We should have a clear vision of where we're going to. We should be able to control every situation or every obstacles we find while trying to get our goal. That's why it is important to have a goal that motivates you. And as a leader, he's trying to tell us that we should be open to learning. A leader always learns. A leader is not limited to learning. Being a leader doesn't mean that we know everything. So that's what I have for the law of navigation.